Grinders. Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD, BlenderHD, if you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Wednesday, November 8th. We'll be taking a first look at the NFL Week 10 slate for DraftKings and FanDuel, as well as talk maybe a little bit about NBA props and pick 'em today. Got a huge NBA slate today, so obviously don't make your lineups at 11 o'clock in the morning because anything on the injury report is pure fiction. It doesn't matter. So just make your lineups 5 minutes before lock because everything's going to change. Hit that thumbs up button on your way in the door. You know how much I like the thummy thumbs. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Joined the preview all the way from cold Canada. It actually got warm, TJ, here. It's actually been like it's like going to be like 70 degrees here in Louisville. That's like that's like a volcano where you're from. If it was 70 degrees, does it up in Saskatchewan? Does it ever get to 70 degrees?
Oh, come on! Yeah, it gets to up to like 100 in the summer.
Really, all the way up there? You're by like the North Pole or something, like Santa Claus.
No, not that far from the North Pole. I'm like a 6-hour drive to North Dakota.
Oh, okay. So that of course, a 6-hour drive from North Dakota because we all know how great the weather always is in North Dakota.
Yeah, sunny, sun shining beaches in North Dakota.
Okay. So we got NFL today. I hope everyone had fun playing NHL yesterday because there wasn't NBA. So there were some new people in our Discord, our NHL Discord, which I think is great. I'm in a lot of Discords. Our NHL Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord, top notch, top class. We got Tim in there. We got Dane in there. We got Taylor in there. Like, if there are line changes, if there's, warm-ups or like they're on the news, that's like the news central. So, and especially if you're new to NHL, you may not even know what any of that means, and they'll answer your questions. And I did pretty well yesterday. I was leading the TJ. I was leading the large field GPP halfway through the slate for 50K, and then Colorado happened, and Winnipeg happened, and my Rangers Lightning lineup kind of came down. But I did hand build. I had 30 lineups, and then I decided like 6:15. I'm just gonna hand build a lineup because I'm playing a lot of Lightning. I'm playing a lot of Rangers. Let me build this, and then I was gonna throw it in the 444. And the 444, it sold out already. So it's just like, okay, now what do I do? So I just found all the single entry stuff and some the live final qualifiers, satellite qualifiers, and I just like 11 contests across the board, $155 in, like $3,200 out on the hand built lineup. And remember, DJ, I'm still at the phase where I need to Google the players to know what teams.
That's pretty impressive. I wanted to play last night too, and then I just kind of got busy, never got to it. And I was going to stack Winnipeg. That was my plan, was Winnipeg line 1. So I kind of regret not playing now. But I saw that win on Twitter. Congrats. That's still a pretty good night. And
for my NHL slate, TJ. That's for my
exactly.
I've only played
our NHL guys are awesome. Our NHL guys are truly fantastic.
And especially for the props, definitely join. Get RotoGrinders premium subscription. Click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. Join the Discord. You get our and statistical projections for NHL. You can use that for prop betting and pick'em stuff. But TJ, we got week 10. I'm trying to avoid talking about NFL. It looks like a slightly better week. It's only a 10-game slate. Because we got Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, Eagles on buys. Of course, we get like 3 of the best teams in the NFL on a buy. We got the Colts, Patriots playing early on Sunday. Panthers, Bears on Thursday. Broncos, Bills on Monday. Jets, Raiders. Sunday night football. Wait for that showdown. But we have the Texans, Bengals game has a 47.5 total. The Lions, Chargers game has a 48.5 total. I mean, those are the high totals now in the NFL. It used to be that we'd see like three games that would have over 50, and these would be like kind of like the middling games. Looking ahead, I mean, You have to think with CJ Stroud putting up the game he did last game, and people love playing the Bengals passing game, right? Burrow, Chase, Higgins did well. The Lions Chargers, the pricing, people don't like paying very heavily for Keenan Allen, even though, Palmer's out now after Mike Williams is out. Eckler's pretty expensive. We're going to get probably David Montgomery back for the Lions, which will kind of cut into Jahmyr Gibbs. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is pretty expensive. Do you think as of now, obviously it's Wednesday, how much of the Texans Bengals game is there going to be ownership in these GPPs? Because the pricing on both sides is doable.
Yeah, probably pretty high because like Joe Burrow, I think, is the clear cash game / single entry optimal style QB this week. He's just still underpriced from his injury. And even if his maybe the offensive production might bump down a little bit if Jamar Chase is out, but to me, all that does is cheapen the stack and make it clear to who I want to stack up. Give me Higgins, give me Tyler Boyd, and give me either Irv Smith or Trenton Irwin, somebody like that. And so I think Burrow being only 6,800 on DraftKings, that's I think going to be the first place people go to this week, as he should be. He's underpriced. Stroud, it's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be highly owned. I'm definitely going to be underweight because that Cincinnati pass defense has been fantastic. They've been pressuring the quarterback. Their corners have been locking guys up. And so if Stroud's going to be highly owned, I'm definitely going to try and be underweight. But Burrow will likely be my sort of cash style quarterback this week. I think he's going to be pretty chalky.
How about Mixon? Because Mixon's 6,200. People don't like playing this dude. It's hard to say right now on Wednesday I think Burrow will be the highest owned quarterback. But at the running back position, it's not if I take a look across the board at the running back position, obviously you have Christian McCaffrey at 9,200 at Jacksonville. It can be hard to fit that in, right? Especially if you're playing something like a Burrow Chase type of lineup. I think Rachaad White is obviously in play at 5,800. You always have Kamara there at 8,300, right? Against Minnesota in the Dome. Bijan is just a Ponzi scheme at 6K. So good luck playing the third string running back for the Falcons. I don't know. I take a look, and with the Bengals team total at 27, a little over 27, it's quite possible that you're not going to get leverage. If you go, oh yeah, people are going to be playing Burrow stacks with Tank Dell as the run back or something like that, I'll play Joe Mixon, and then Joe Mixon comes in at 28% on also. Do you think? I play Mixon. I play these trashy guys more than the inefficient volume guys. I play them when they're low owned, but when they're high owned, I'm looking, when I take a look at my cash lineup that I built dummy wise for this slate, and I'm like Mixon, Rachaad White. It's the volume may be good for cash, but if these guys are going to be higher owned also, maybe I look at some other running backs and I take a look at this list, and is there anyone other than Christian McCaffrey, who obviously you have to pay for? Is there anyone that you're excited to click on?
Tony Pollard, I think, would maybe be the only one.
Oh, you're excited. Well, hold on. You're excited to click. He's I think the quintessential one of. Are you really excited to click on Tony Pollard at 7,300? Being that we've been playing him, especially on FanDuel, and the Cowboys have scored a ton of points, and Pollard does nothing.
Yeah, but those games weren't against the Giants. The Giants and Tommy DeVito, and that's going to be a 40-point game probably. That's why I like it, is just because the Cowboys have had to have a lot of passing situations in the red zone. In this game, they're probably going to be up 3-4 touchdowns, I think. And so Tony Pollard, I am moderately excited to play, but running back's a pretty weak position this week. And so that's why I don't hate the idea of just somebody cheap like Rachaad White. Aaron Jones is somebody I think I'm very excited to play for tournaments. but it's like you said, there's nobody that stands out that it's like, this is my lock button running back this week. I love him. Like nothing like that, anything close to that. And so I kind of hope somebody like Joe Mixon is going to be chalky so that I can fade him. But Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard are probably like my favorite early tournament running backs.
Right, I'm looking at some of the names here. One guy I may take a shot on because he fits that mold of guy that isn't very good, very inefficient. But Cam Akers is going to be out. I mean, Cam Akers is out of that backfield. I know Minnesota has only a 19 implied team total. They're playing in the Dome at home. Josh Dobbs looked pretty good for the Vikings, right? I don't know. Madison at 5,500. It's quite possible he could get 80% of the snaps here. Whether or not he actually gets there in that work, but I mean, he'll catch passes out of the backfield. I mean, if I'm looking cheap, I'm with you. I think on this slate, like, I'm much more likely to pay down than pay up. Like, I don't see myself building McCaffrey Kamara lineups. And then I'm also in that game with the Saints Vikings. Like, Kamara has a nice floor, and he has a theoretically high ceiling, but paying 8,300, like, you think you're safe, and then you wonder why Jamal Williams is out there, and then they get to the 8-yard line, and then Taysom Hill is out there, and you almost want to play Kamara when the Saints are going to be more likely to be behind than ahead, even though they give him plenty of touches. No, he'll rush the ball 15, 16 times. But his pass catching role is much more for Carr has the pass. Yeah. Carr looks at Olave for half a second, says, nope, he's not open enough. And then he throws it 4 yards to Kamara. Like, that's what I'm looking for. And maybe this isn't the game for that. But I think people will still, people have been clicking on Kamara, for several weeks. But 8,300, I feel like I look at the wide receiver position and I'd much more rather have, Chase and Lamb and Amon-Ra, and I'd rather have the high end, even Keenan Allen at 8,800. I feel like I think it'll be lower owned at that price. But like Kamara is like, if he's not going to get these touchdowns, if he's not even getting the opportunity to get these touchdowns. Like, I feel like Kamara's 16-point PPR game is fadeable at 8,300.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a very great point. And I'd rather play Madison in that game, even though I typically don't like playing too many players up against that Saints defense, just because they've given up over 20 points like 3 times in the last 2 years or something stupid like that. But having said that, Kamara, I do think, is just getting a bit too expensive for how much healthier that offense is getting with Jamal Williams back. Kendre Miller did get hurt last game, and so he's probably going to be out, and so that'll stop taking away some of those touches that Miller was doing. I do think with Kamara only getting 44% of the snaps last week, that was a bit of a case of he had been getting almost workhorse type numbers the previous few weeks, and now they got Miller back, and now they got Williams back, and so they figured, let's give him a little bit of a rest this week. I think that'll bounce back up. I don't think that's going to be a trend. I think that was just a 1 week thing to give him a little bit of not rest isn't the right word because he played, but you know what I mean. And so I agree. I think I'll probably be underweight there. The more I look at this, the more I'm liking Alexander Madison and Aaron Jones. Obviously I mentioned Pollard before, but saving the salary with Jones, saving the salary with Madison, and Kenneth Walker against Washington is another guy that I think I'm going to be interested in as well.
I have 2 more guys. Travis Etienne, 7,100 for Jacksonville. They're playing at home. They're going to be a 3-point dog at home. I think people are under the impression that the 49ers defense is like top class. Now, they're not a bad defense, but they're obviously a better team than Jacksonville. But Etienne's role, they're really not using Bigsby anymore. Etienne could touch the ball 25 plus times in this game. We have Etienne at 7,100. And then the last time that Tommy DeVito played the bulk of the game when Tyrod went down. Saquon Barkley touched the ball 36 times because they probably don't want to let DeVito pass the ball much, especially against the Cowboys defense. 7,700 for what could potentially be 40 touches. How many points does he score? Who the hell knows? But, I mean, it's quite possible on this slate that Barkley has 10 more touches than any other running back on the entire slate, including Christian McCaffrey. Even though they're dogs, would you be interested in a Barkley that could possibly score like 20 points without a touchdown? And then just you hope that the Giants ever get into the red zone?
I think I would have some interest because he could have that Alvin Kamara type game where he could have 11, 12 targets in this one. If the Cowboys end up like what you expect the Giants to do here is early in the game, try and run the ball as much as possible, slow down their possessions and try and not let Dallas have the ball. If that goes wrong and Dallas scores a couple times early, it's probably going to be check down city for Saquon Barkley because obviously we know they're not letting DeVito throw it deep. And so I feel like we're either looking at tons and tons of carries for Barkley as they try and slow that game down and grind it out, or if Dallas gets up early, we're going to see a lot of checkdowns there. So I don't mind that call one bit. As it stands right now, for like my 150 builds, I have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I've narrowed my running back pool down to 11 players so far. I might shrink it even more, but I've narrowed my running back pool down to 11 players. And I like the Travis Etienne call quite a bit. He's just still too cheap on DraftKings for what his role is. He should be more expensive. He's been absolutely lights out just because they're feeding him the ball.
At the wide receiver position, I have some of the scariest words to tell you. The 3 scariest words in NFL DFS. Deontay Johnson chalk. I can see myself playing a 5,400 Deontay Johnson in my DraftKings cash lineup. But, like, if I go to, like, DraftKings Sportsbook, if I go to, like, FanDuel Sportsbook, there probably is a bet that, like, minus 180 Deontay Johnson is in the middle tent at some point in this game. Because, right? It's like Deontay Johnson is, he could 11 catches for 60 yards. He could do something like, he's getting these easier targets for the Steelers, and they're favored. The Steelers are favored at home in this game. They have a 20.75 implied team total. I feel as if Deontay Johnson has a great shot at 15 points for 5,400. But I also feel like in GPP that I'm really not worried about him beating me. Like, unless he scores twice or something, like, do you really see Deontay Johnson with the Steelers offense putting up the same type of line as, like, you have Tank Dell? And I think Tank Dell is going to be popular, but, like, Tank Dell could put up 30 points. Deontay Johnson needs, like, he needs to catch all the balls that get thrown to him, and the balls that get thrown to him actually have to be catchable balls. I mean, I don't want to plug in a 50. I don't know about you. I don't want to plug in a $5,400 one-off Deontay Johnson, 24% owned dude, only for, the beginning of the second quarter, we see the notification that he's headed to the locker room.
Play him in cash. Put a on a pick'em site. Put a more than whatever his target number is on your sports betting sites. Bet the over on whatever his targets is, and then fade him in GPPs. I think is a great way to go about it. He'll probably be decently chalky. I hope not that much. My favorite guy on the whole slate is DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to be overweight on Will Levis at the quarterback position, who, because he's not projecting well, I don't think many people are going to play. But it's a Tampa Bay defense is a pass funnel unlike anybody other than Philly, who's not even on the slate. And so I want to load up on DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to be my highest owned receiver.
I'm also interested in this Seattle-Washington game. Like, basically the Washington offense is the Chiefs' offense, other than the fact that they're the Commanders, right? So, like, it's. I'm not saying it's a good offense. I'm just saying that it's run as of that. So, if we take a look at that game, Washington, Seattle in the late set, Seattle has a 25. I mean, they have a pretty healthy team total. I mean, Lockett 6,100, JSN is 4,100, Metcalf is 6,800. I mean, you could always get a cheap tight end with Noah Fant. And then on the Washington side, I mean, they're throwing the ball 40 plus times a game, no matter what. Right? Seattle, the problem with Seattle is that when they go up, they tend to slow it down. Right? But if Washington goes up, I mean, if I wouldn't be shocked if this was a shootout. And playing Geno stacks plus McLaurin, or we're playing Howell stacks plus Lockett or Metcalf. I don't know. It feels like this game could shoot out as much as the Texans Bengals game, but just will come in like half the zone. Or do you think that this game may still also be if you take a look at the team totals, like this will also be a popular. I feel as if the Lions Chargers games is kind of the odd man out on the team total side, only because the players are not like competitively priced in the same way as in these other games. I don't know what your thoughts on the Seahawks Commanders game versus the Lions Chargers game in the late set.
It's a lot is going to depend on ownership once we get it, but without kind of looking at that early on, without the ability to compare those things, I do love this Seattle team. Seattle, Tennessee, and Cincinnati were kind of the three teams that I circled as I would like to do game stacks, ownership dependent on those ones. So this Seattle team I really like. I think we could end up seeing a case where DK or Tyler Lockett ends up getting pretty highly owned this week. And then Geno Smith kind of falls under the radar because people look at his game log and they don't really want to go to him because he hasn't put up a good game in this season, really. And so Seattle is a team I like the idea of going with Lockett, going with Metcalf and Geno Smith, running it back with one of the guys here. But on their own, Metcalf or Lockett, I do feel like one of them is very likely to have a huge game against this Commanders team.
At the defense position, it may be one of the few times that I've ever seen this, where the highest priced defense on DraftKings is one of the best values on the entire slate. The Cowboys defense is 4,400. The New York Giants currently have an implied team total of 11. Have you? I don't think I've been playing NFL DFS for a long time. I mean, 6 years.
That's the lowest I can recall for sure.
11 as an implied team total. Obviously, from a points allowed perspective, yeah, the Cowboys probably won't give up many points. How often is Tommy DeVito throwing the ball, though? Like, do you expect this game to go? Like we talked about Barkley before. We talked about Pollard before. Do you expect this game, like, if this game is anywhere close, so I'm talking about within 2 scores, it's still possible that the Giants only throw the ball like 8 times. And defenses really make their money points-wise in fantasy on dropbacks more than, trying to get fumbles on rushes and stuff like that. If the Cowboys go up 21-0 early, then the Giants are almost going to have to throw the ball, and then the firework. Then Cowboys. We get that 32-point defense, but 4,400 is a lot to pay for. I mean, typically we're paying down at defense because defense scoring is so high variance. How much of a priority is having the high? I mean, the defense projection for the Cowboys is 5 points higher than the next highest defense currently. And as we've seen, if you're not going to play if you're not playing McCaffrey, if you're not playing Chase, if you're not playing Lamb, if you're not playing like any 8K plus receiver or McCaffrey, like You can fit you can fit him. It's not like this is not like one of these like tight slates where we got Tyreek and we got Justin Jefferson, a healthy Justin Jefferson, and we got all these high priced guys that are AJ Brown and all these guys. Like we don't really have as many of those guys. That if you told me that you wanted to play the Cowboys defense at 4,400, I mean they're probably going to be the highest scoring defense. But my concern is that if the game is, it's the Cowboys. The Cowboys this year have played games with insanely outlier like game flows and game scripts and everything. My only concern is that if you tell me the Giants are going to throw the ball less than 10 times, I'll just X out the Cowboys because like if they give up 3 points and have like 2 sacks, like well that's not worth 4,400.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so it's really going to depend on ownership for me, because if the Cowboys are, this turns out to be the cash team, we can pay up for them. They're going to be 25% owned. I will just play them in cash in X amount in tournaments. But it's going to be, because they are so expensive. It might be tough for people to get there, but it's like you mentioned, it's not like there are any huge spend ups that are major priorities in this spot. I feel like they're a pretty safe bet for at bare minimum like 8 points, because the Giants aren't going to score that many points in this game. But I've never prioritized the 4,400 defense, and so I'm going to have a tough time doing it in this spot. Like I think my favorite defense on the slate is probably going to be the Cardinals against Atlanta at 2,500.
That's gonna. I expect them to be the chalk. That's gonna be the chalk cheap defense that you're probably playing in DraftKings cash as of now. Anything else, TJ, on the slate that you're taking a first look at that maybe monitoring from now through to the end of the week?
Doesn't seem like we have a ton of injury stuff to worry about. What I do find on this slate is it feels like a really good 3-entry max slate. That's what this one feels to me. I feel like there's about 4 or 5 spots that I like. I'm going to pick the 3 that I like the best and really try and hone in on 3 specific stacks. So at the ones I'm feeling right now are Cincinnati, Tennessee as my sneakier one, and then Seattle as my other one. It's going to be ownership dependent. I'll adjust on that. And so if say nobody's playing the Chargers and Detroit game and everybody's loading up on that Cincinnati and Houston one, then I'll make a pivot. But that's the biggest thing I'm sitting on right now is I'm more interested in ownership this week than I have. Like, obviously it's always important, but this week more than recent ones, I find that I'm going to want to hone in on it more because it just seems like a smaller slate than 10 games. It feels like it's a 6-game slate. And so if 1 or 2 of these spots are going heavily owned, but the other 2 aren't, I'm just going to really try and double down on the ones that aren't, because it really feels like there's about 4 or 5 games that I want to play, and that's it.
No, I was going to agree with you. That's exactly what I was just going to say. It feels like there are certain games where it's like, maybe I'll have a one-off piece of the game, maybe I'll have Amari Cooper. Maybe I'll have, I take a look at some of these games that go, maybe I'll play Marquise Brown or something, maybe I'll so a lot of these games are, right? Like you look at it and you go, do I really want to take 4 guys from this game? Probably not. And then what it ends up happening is that you're focused on 3 or 4 games, but also everyone else is focused on like those 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
And it's going to matter. That's why I said about the Lions Chargers game. It's like, I think that ends up being the odd game out just due to the pricing of the game where, well, how do you play Amon-Ra and Keenan Allen together? Right? Do people want to play Quentin Johnston again? Right? Is people going to pay up for Laporta? It's like the Eckler is an expensive running back, and people are much more likely to just either pay down or go up to McCaffrey. So I just get the sense that like Herbert and like Goff, like this seems like a Goff spot. Like I want to play a Goff stack as of now, only because I think Geno will be higher owned than him, possibly. I think Sam Howell could be higher owned than him. And it's like Goff against the Chargers, okay. I mean, it's not like the Chargers defense is good. I mean, we saw them against the Jets. That wasn't because the Chargers defense was good. That's because the Jets are horrible. And Zach Wilson is, I don't know what the hell he's doing. We'll have sim labs up, by the way, for tomorrow's Thursday showdown slate, as well as for this main slate. If you want to try out sim labs for free, I believe it's still free. I believe we've left it free for another week. Don't quote me on it. Maybe it's not. But go check that out, rotogrinders.com/simlabs. And soon it'll be for premium members only. So click on that link in the description, get $10 off your first month. NBA tonight, DJ. We got like I think everyone's playing.
Everybody but two
players.
teams.
I'm talking about like all the teams.
Everybody but two teams. We got a 14-game slate.
You're on Grinders Live, right? Later today?
Yeah.
Good luck with the 14-game slate and an injury report. Do you ever look at the injury report and go, well, this is like the greatest fiction I've ever, like, why even bother looking? Like, it used to be that we didn't even get an injury report. We just got designations and whatever. And then we have the official injury report, and there's an injury. They updated at this time. They updated at that time. They updated at this time. You look at it at 5:30, and you're like, okay, it was updated at 5:30. Then an hour later, 18 different things that weren't even on the injury report happened. And you wonder, like, what is this charade? This is insane. Because even for prop betting,
chaos,
DJ, I'm having issues with it's like, okay, there's no one on the injury report that's questionable or doubtful for this game. And then I bet on props at 2:00 in the afternoon. And then at 6:00, it's like, yeah, these two guys are resting. It's like, what? You weren't even on the injury. You weren't even on the 5:30 injury report. What the hell is going on here? And now I'm just looking at going, well, I hope I get lucky because I have the wrong way on what I have a prop on a guy that's going to be out. And then I have an under on a guy that's going to benefit. And I'm like, what am I doing? What am I hitting myself in the face with this stuff? So for props and pick'em, do you have an article coming out today for NBA stuff?
Not on Wednesdays. No, Wednesdays and Fridays are my 2 days without too many articles. So on Thursday, tomorrow, I'll have an NFL props or NFL pick'em article for Prize Picks. I'll have an NBA pick'em article for Prize Picks. Let's see, what else do I got on Thursday? Thursday is, the 2 Prize Picks for NBA and NFL, as well as the expert survey for Thursday Night Football. And then Friday, more NBA Prize Picks and NBA DFS stuff coming on the weekend as well. So nothing on a Wednesday, but a whole lot coming Thursday through Sunday.
And you could subscribe to RotoGrinders Premium or just our props and pick'em package. You'll get our pick'em tool. You'll get our prop model. So you could use our statistical projections for NBA. I mean, I could bring them up here. Player projections. So even if you don't want to use our little tools, you could just download. I take the CSV from here, right? Here's our premium projections. It has a timestamp and everything. I could download this. I could import that into Excel, into anything I want. Compare it to the lines on the sports books. But if you want to make it a little easier, the top 20, we do that for you. So you can see here our current prop model. Always check the timestamp and everything like that. It'll show you on DraftKings, FanDuel, all the legal books based on our statistical projections at the moment, as well as on Prize Picks and Underdog. So you see here that you go to Prize Picks NBA, right? This was last updated 9/11 in the morning, right? So you wait for a projection update, right? And then you can go to town. Look, NHL, NBA, Underdog NBA, NFL, right? All the stuff. You get that with our RotoGrinders statistical projections here. I mean, it's the same stuff at Scores and Odds. If you remember it for premium at scoresandodds.com, it's the same projections. So do you see anything? I know you're not doing an article today. Do you see anything on the board currently for?
So that Malcolm Brogdon one is looking very interesting right off the bat. But the one place I want to look first and foremost is the Washington and Charlotte game, because these are two teams that are just so horrific defensively and are both playing at a wildly fast pace in this one. And so I want to look at most of the more thans on players in that game, because from what I looked at early in the day, the lines were a little bit too low. So guys like Daniel Gafford, guys like Kyle Kuzma, big men on the Washington team were places that I wanted to look very early. And And then I do love that Malcolm Brogdon one right at the top with all the injuries that they have as well. I'm just trying to pull up the fantasy pick'em tool for Prize Picks on my laptop here as well, so I can scroll in a little bit. But that Washington and Charlotte game for all types of DFS is going to be my main target today, but including on Prize Picks. It's not just going to be a DraftKings and FanDuel thing for me. Mark Williams, I like his more than fantasy points in this spot.
Yeah, it seems like on the prop model, there's a lot of Charlotte. There's a lot of Charlotte. Yeah, there's a lot of Charlotte, Washington, a lot of Portland. Right, as of right now, obviously.
Yeah, and a lot of Indiana in there too because they've been playing stupid fast. Like there's a couple of these teams this year: Indiana, Charlotte, Washington. And interestingly enough, Utah is one of them too, right at these 7 o'clock games, right at the start, facing Indiana today, that have played at just blistering paces and without any defense whatsoever. And so there's been some really strong game environments that I feel like a lot of the pick'em lines and a lot of the prop sites, they haven't adjusted quick enough to the type of pace these games are playing at. Like Indiana's putting up like 130 plus points a game right now.
Zion Williamson was just ruled out for today.
Well,
it starts, TJ. It starts.
So let's get it some Jonas Valanciunas props right now. Let's and pick'ems. Let's get us some Jonas Valanciunas. What can we find? I'm gonna go to Prize Picks quickly, see if there's anything on there with JV, because he absolutely smashed in his last spot without Zion. And let's see who New Orleans plays, because with Jonas Valanciunas, you want to make sure that they have a big that actually sits underneath the hoop, because otherwise a fast team will just pull him right out of the game. So New Orleans is playing against Timberwolves. They got Gobert. Oh my goodness, it's Jonas Valanciunas day. And of course, Prize Picks was quick to it, and they already have pulled every Jonas Valanciunas.
That's going to be down within 30 seconds. Don't even bother. Yeah. I'm here smiling at you, going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" They know what they're doing. It's going to be gone.
I was within 30 seconds. I thought I could have got it.
But also, you also have to realize, TJ, that if you get them within 30 seconds, they know that you did it, and they know what type of person you are. And next thing you know, you're down to like the $6.62 pick'ems on Prize Picks. So I don't even bother with that type of stuff. All I do is I look and I sigh and I go, good thing I didn't bet any Pelican stuff before that happened, right? Like I just look at that and I go, yeah, he's out for personal reasons. Personal, ruled out Wednesday. This stuff will happen. I'm going to see something like this 10 times today. So like I sit here in the afternoon wondering when should I be betting on props? I have no idea. Should I just bet a minute before the game at this point? I don't know what the hell's going to happen.
Talk about a wildly interesting NBA slate, though, because you have these 7 p.m. games with Utah, Indiana, Washington, Charlotte, huge totals, close spreads between bad teams with fast paces that don't want to play defense. And then you have a situation like New Orleans, who they're going to have some crazy value without CJ McConnell and without Zion Williamson, but they're facing Minnesota, who's been one of the very best defenses in the league so far. So total contrast in the spots in this game where you have teams that are pretty healthy, but they're playing fast without any defense. Then you have another team, a lot of minutes opening up, a lot of usage opening up, but it's going to be in a slower paced game with some really strong defense.
And you'll talk a lot about that more later today on Grinders Live, 5 p.m. Eastern, and that's followed by Crunch Time leading up until lock. So if you want to play NBA DFS on this 14-game slate, obviously, we have all the premium content here. We'll have all the core plays and CVR, consensus value rankings, the expert survey, all the projections and updated ownership. So click on that link in the description. Get $10 off your first month of Combo Premium. And TJ, you'll be on at 5 p.m. Eastern to talk about all the things that happened between now and then, 5 hours and 20 minutes from now, that if we talked about now would just crumple it up and you throw it in the garbage, right? Right. When people ask about why don't you cover the NBA slates at 11 o'clock in the morning, it's like, do you play NBA DFS? Like who's listening to this? Dude, 2 hours from now, anything we say is just like throw it out. right? But you'll be on at 5 p.m. Hit that notification bell to always know when we go live. TJ, what other stuff do you have coming up this weekend for NFL?
Yeah, it'll be me, Kirk, Dees, and Dean on Grinders Live today, followed by Roth, Meansy, and Keys for Crunch Time. And then for NFL, I'll be having the NFL Prize Picks article tomorrow, NBA Prize Picks article tomorrow, NFL Expert Survey tomorrow. I'll also be on the NBA Crunch Time with Roth and Kyle Murray tomorrow. Friday, more Grinders Live with Dean. Saturday, I have NBA and NBA articles for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Prize Picks. I'm on Crunch Time with Tim and Taylor on Saturday. And then Sunday for NFL, more Prize Picks for Sunday Night Football. I'll be on Crunch Time for the main slate with Britt and Dre. I'll be on Pre-Lock with Will for the night slate after. It just it doesn't end. There are, I think, 2 days in all of November, maybe 3 days in all of November, I won't be on a show. And so busy month of November.
Right. Well, I mean, you got to work a lot the next 9 months.
Exactly.
Once that kid comes, all your money's gone. It just goes. Poof.
Oh, and all my money already is gone.
It's gone. Why are diapers so expensive?
So here's foolish. Here I am thinking that, you know, if you throw a really big down payment on a house, even if it is with DFS winnings that they know can't be relied on long term, that you get real great deal on mortgages, right? Because you're throwing a big old down payment on it. And so we get this house, big old down payment, all with the DFS winnings. Our mortgage went up $500 a month this year. $500 a month.
How does it go up? Do you have a variable rate? Why did that go up?
I don't know how things go. Interest, taxes, I don't know. Stuff stupid. But anyways, life's expensive. I gotta keep making sure I win on DFS just so I can not even build a bankroll, but just withdraw enough money from the accounts every month to pay the bills.
Yeah, life's expensive. That's why I don't create any more of it. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Smart.
I only want 2 mouths. I have 2.5 mouths to feed. Me, my wife, and my dog, and that's like a half a mouth, right? Yeah. The dog eats better than us. The dog has health insurance. What the hell's up with that? Why are we?
Look at these guys just munching on a beef stick right now. He's eating well,
right? And the beef sticks are expensive also.
Yeah, I get them at Costco though. That's the best place to get a beef stick.
Okay, so hit that like button if you like TJ's dogs. If you to support the sport, it doesn't get him any extra towards his mortgage, but hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. I'll be back tomorrow with Bobby Gomes. We'll be talking NBA, we'll be talking NHL, we'll be talking whatever the hell's going on. That's what I do here on weekdays at 11 o'clock in the morning, talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy. Props and pick 'em on RotoGrinders Today.